Oakland Zoo is here and ready for action. Pittsburgh with a record of 16-11 overall, 7-9 in conference play, same as Georgia Tech. The Yellow Jackets 13-14 overall. And Pittsburgh with the basketball first. Jaland Lowe, their sophomore point guard from Missouri City, Texas, off to Guillermo Diaz-Graham. Zach Austin, number 55, gives it back to Lowe. Cam Corhen has the pass knocked away by Baye Ndongo, and here comes Leggett. Shot clock under 10. Little hesitation to go around Terry, who recovers but commits the foul. So we heard very clearly during shoot-around earlier today from Damon Stoudamire, the second-year head coach for Georgia Tech. We got to punch him in the mouth. We've got to be physical, and that will set the tone. How do you go about doing that without fouling out your entire roster?
Well, yeah, you want to play smart defense, but you want to be aggressive on the boards. When you get an opportunity to push it, you want to push it, try to get easy shots in transition. But I think a big guy this game for Georgia Tech is Lance Terry. He has the assignment of Leggett, and obviously Leggett is an all ACC type of player. Lance Terry has his handfuls tonight.
Well, Georgia Tech is coming off a loss Saturday at Boston against the BC Eagles, 69-54. And Coach Stoudamire is still steaming about that. If he had a bigger bench, he might have gone to some different guys. This is the 9th different starting lineup of the year for the Yellow Jackets, who get on the board. Lance Terry has the first two, and not without mention, Nathan George, the leader in the ACC in assists, picks up his first dime of the night.
Well, how about that pass? It looked like an easy pass, but whipping it with his right hand from dang near half court, right on point. Lance Terry finishing at the rim.
Pittsburgh, meanwhile, coming off a crushing defeat on Saturday at Notre Dame. They need this one, too, to turn this back around. Baye Ndongo, the sophomore from Senegal, has his first points for 2 Yellow Jackets.
Doug, I think for both these teams, both the big men have been playing really good. You see Corhen right there finishing. Look for them to go inside and try to open up that perimeter play for their guards.
Here's Nathan George, number 1 in gray. The Yellow Jackets on the back end of a long road trip. They came straight from Boston to here in Pittsburgh. They spent an extra day in Beantown before coming here. They worked out here at the Peterson Event Center yesterday. Leggett off the great in and out dribble, everything but the finish. Duncan Powell finds George, got a clean look, left it short, fight for the rebound. Ndongo with an offensive rebound. Terry, a step back 3 ball. He's fouled by Austin, and so Terry will shoot 3.
And I think Terry is just a guy. We talked to Coach Stoudamire. He wants him to pick up the intensity of physicality defensively, but offensively early in the season he was really shooting the ball at a high level, had that wrist injury really been bothering. But Doug, we were talking to him in shoot around. He says it's feeling better. So if he can get his shot going, feeling a little bit better, I think that it would bring more confidence to his game on both ends of the floor.
Yeah, he missed the Clemson game January 14th with a right wrist or hand injury. There's Terry. And that is something the Pittsburgh coaching staff, and in particular Jeff Capel, repeatedly went over and shoot around, that dude is going to make passes like that, and we got to be ready.
Well, he's 6'5". He's one of the best playmakers, not only in the ACC, but in the country. And to be able to make a pass like that on point to your shooting guard, I mean, that takes a lot of skill. Nathan George, one of the best passers in the country.
I find it interesting, Damon Stoudamire says of Nathan George, his superpower is getting the ball to the second side, and that's the way he typically does it. Great vision and not afraid to make that cross-court pass. Here is Terry playing without that right thumb and wrist and hand wrap for the first time in a few weeks. And as you said, Eric, he was saying it's more about between his ears at this point. Got to get comfortable and get ready for it to be hit again and make sure it's okay.
And just picking your spots, knowing when to make a play, knowing when you're looking to score the basketball. He's the leader on this Georgia Tech team. He has to put his guys in good position to score.
Zach Austin, Cam Corhen fighting for the ball. It goes out of bounds. Back to Georgia Tech. Pittsburgh now 1 of 5 shooting. And we've got our first block of the night for this number 2 team in block shots in the ACC.
Well, and if you're Georgia Tech, you just got to keep being aggressive to the basket. Your shot is going to get blocked every once in a while, but you got to keep being aggressive, keep putting pressure on the defense.
And Guillermo Diaz-Graham with his first. Zach Austin tied for the league lead at 1.7 blocks per game. Good rim protection here in the Steel City.
Doug, I think Zach Austin is another guy that Pittsburgh really needs to look for to get something offensively. Last game, he didn't really get many looks. Pittsburgh guards need to do a better job of drawing and kicking, and Zach Austin has to be able to knock that down.
And that's a good sign for the Yellow Jackets that Duncan Powell, who missed all 6 of his threes on Saturday against Boston College, buries his first from the corner to make it 9-4 Georgia Tech. George commits the foul.
Right here, George doing a good job getting in the pick and roll, drawing Ishmael, and then Duncan Powell, who didn't have his best game by any means against BC, but staying confident, staying ready to shoot, knocking it down in the corner.
And Powell is a 2-time transfer, started his college career at an HBCU at North Carolina A&T, and spent last year at Sacramento State out in Northern California. And I'll tell you what, even if Guillermo Diaz-Graham had been making that pass to his identical twin brother Jorge, who are both 7 feet tall, he couldn't have made that play.
Well, for both teams, those are the plays, the unforced errors that you cannot have, and obviously both coaches are not happy at those type of plays.
Nathan George with 2 assists here in the early going. Powell uses that strength, has it knocked away. He thought he was fouled. No whistle. It goes out of bounds, stays with Tech with 16:03 on the clock in the first.
Again, you want to stay aggressive. If you're Duncan Powell, you're coming off probably your worst game of the season, but you just hit a corner jump shot. The defense comes out on you. You want to be able to drive that to the basket. Continue to be aggressive.
George turns the corner, trying to play off of 2 feet, lost his balance. Austin got a piece of that pass. Ibrahim Suare back outside. Shot clock at 1. Did they beat the buzzer? No. Didn't matter either way. Pitt was going to get the defensive rebound off the Suare miss, and so it's the 2nd turnover.
I appreciate that, Coach Cable, but it's awesome to see these guys go from great college basketball players into great college basketball coaches.
And of course that prompted Eric Devendorf and Coach Capel going down a long list about that game as Leggett hits the 2-point shot. About the Orange and the Sooners going head-to-head. You guys remember details that I can't imagine you'd remember now. What is it, 15+ years later?
Yeah, 50 plus. And it was funny because he brought out the details. We were talking about Tony Crockett, a guy who got hot from the 3-point line that game, and all season long hasn't been that guy shooting the threes, but he talked about, he brought out that holy water, and he put it in Tony Crockett's hand, and then he had the game of his life against us in the Sweet 16. So I guess a little bit of that magic worked for him.
Jaland Lowe. You know what? Georgia Tech has completely controlled the glass so far. Another offensive rebound by Ndongo led to the Nathan George bucket, and now it's 1 and done at the other end for Pittsburgh. Here comes George to Ndongo, and back to George.
Doug, I think another thing, too, for Georgia Tech, they have a short bench, so the guys out on the floor, they know that they're going to be playing, right? They're not going to be a lot of quick subs, so these guys are going to play hard, and they're going to play through their mistakes.
Corhen denies Suare, and that is another shot clock violation unless they count that desperation 3. Everybody kind of looks around. The officials called it good, and now they will go and, of course, check it. Watching live, I didn't think that he beat the buzzer, but maybe.
Well, we talked about him getting his perimeter game going. I'm not sure that he's thinking about that, but
previous plays under review for potential shot clock violation.
Well, Damon Stoudamire, as we said, wanted his team to be the more physical, as we've got a Yellow Jacket being treated underneath the basket to our left. That is Ibrahim Suare, a redshirt freshman from Guinea, being looked at. And well, Coach Stoudamire referencing the fact that they've only got coming into this game 8 healthy scholarship players. He said, I don't care. I'll go with 7. I'll go with 6. I'll go with 5.5 if you guys don't play tough. And they can't afford foul trouble, and they can't afford injuries.
Well, he just wants 5 guys out there on the floor that are going to give 100% effort and energy, physicality. And when we talk about physicality, it's attacking the glass, bringing ball pressure, getting up in the lanes, and then pushing it offensively, trying to get out in transition. But Suare is a guy who they really need. I mean, he's not a big scorer, but he's a guy who really holds his own defensively, and he's a big presence in the middle.
He had a big game in the win over Clemson It went triple overtime. He played extended minutes, of course, because everybody does these days for Tech. Take another look.
Yeah, it's just one of those where you land and it looked like his knee buckled a little bit. And
After further review, it was a shot clock violation. No basket.
All right, so we get the 2 reviews. Now we see why Suare is being helped off the court. You think Lance Terry? All right, now I'm sitting with the guy who had a desperation 3 at Madison Square Garden. I know it's the other end of the court, and then you jumped up on the scores table. Did you know that your shot? Did Lance Terry know right there that his shot came after the buzzer?
Well, going back to my shot,
yours against UConn.
Of course, I thought it counted because I jumped up on top of the table. So I did think it counted, obviously, but I think right there, Lance Terry, he probably didn't think it was in, but. We just talked about him getting his perimeter game back going early in the season. He was really shooting the ball at a high clip, and talked about that wrist injury. So it's just good to see him getting back to being aggressive on the perimeter and also attacking the basket.
He's Devo on Doug. Glad you're with us here at the Peterson Events Center. Austin. Well, he missed the 3. He's one of the better 3-point shooters in the conference. In fact, he leads Pittsburgh in made 3s and in block shots. He's the only guy in the country now, Eric, with 35 or more made 3s and 35 or more block shots.
And right now for Pittsburgh, you look at the lineup for Georgia Tech. I've tried to get Corhen back in the game and see if they can get that inside presence, especially with Ndongo being the only big. Try to go attacking down, get him in foul trouble. And
Corhen's got one of 3 Pittsburgh block shots to help keep this to a 5-point game right now. Mustaf has come into the game. He spots up for 3, way off the mark, and that'll be Georgia Tech basketball off the leg of Ish Leggett. And so with 8 seconds remaining on the shot clock, the Yellow Jackets will have it over near the corner.
And Mustaf, he's a guy who really excels in the open court, driving downhill, getting to the basket. Once he gets that jump shot consistent, he's going to be a whole different player.
3 seconds, 2 seconds. Terry able to beat that buzzer. That extends the biggest lead of the night to 7.
G-Tech with this lineup, it allows them to get up and down, play fast. Now they just have to be selective with their decision making and make the right play.
Terry, who his teammates call Pops, goes end-to-end off the steal. The 24-year-old with the flush.
And this is what Coach Stoudamire challenged Lance Terry today in shoot-around. We know you can score the ball, but we need you on the defensive side, getting in the lane, getting easy opportunities to the rim like that one.
He by himself is outscoring Pittsburgh so far, 8-6. 8 points now off the lefty layup by Jaland Lowe.
We're just about 8 minutes into this game. Jaland Lowe, you see him trying to work his way in, but now is the time for him to be aggressive, look for his scoring, but also look to make plays for his teammates.
Jaden Mustaf feeds Powell, who draws the second defender. Nice wraparound pass to Mustaf, and an equally nice pass inside to George.
Just great ball movement. That's what Georgia Tech was lacking last game against Boston College. Too much one-on-one and ISO play. They have to be able to move that ball side to side, get some cutters going, find the open man.
Eight minutes in here at the Peterson Events Center. The home team stuck on 8 points. And they are still stuck on 8 points as Ish Leggett couldn't handle that pass. Third turnover committed by the Pain, and they have had a little bit of adversity since that time, but they've still won 4 out of 6 and have shown the capability. Maybe not against Duke, but against anybody else in the conference, they can beat them.
And Doug, he was fired up.
Oh yeah.
Shoot around. And I'm used to those type of coaches. That's how my coaches were growing up. They're fired up. They're in their face. They're intense. And you know, you can see his passion for the game and for his players. And he just really wants to win and have his guys ready.
Jaden Mustaf. Powell with an air ball, and we've got a foul on the floor going for the rebound. Corhen and Ndongo were tied up. And it is against Cameron Corhen, the transfer from Florida State.
Pitt went to a little zone right there. See if they stay in it or go back to the man.
Corhen, Lowe, Leggett, Austin, and Cummings just into the game for the first time. He's defending Terry right now. Shot clock at 4. Terry, stay hot. He's into double figures already with 11.
Tell you what, you see a couple of those perimeter shots going, your confidence goes to another level. Now it's just all levels, attacking the rim on the perimeter in transition. Good to see Lance Terry back to his form.
His career high is 26 a couple of years ago when he was at Gardner-Webb. And you already got to start thinking about that. Not even midway through the first half with 11 points. Corhen off the feed from Lowe.
It really, Doug, for Pittsburgh, the penetration hasn't been there. Georgia Tech's done a good job of staying in front and putting bodies when they do get by. They need to look at going to Corhen a little bit more, just try to have that inside out and see if they can get Ndongo in some foul trouble.
Terry feeling it. A little strong that time. Austin clears the rebound. And here comes Jaland Lowe, 5th in the ACC in assists. Drives to the bucket, finds Leggett. That is a winning combination for the Pitt Panthers.
And anytime you can get out in transition and not have to play against a set defense in half court, it's a win for your team. Great job by Lowe pushing the ball, getting into the paint, and finding the open Ishmael.
And we talked about when the ball stops bouncing for him, what he might like to do for a career.
Well, he said physical therapy was his first, I guess, his first interest other than basketball. So
yeah, Gardner-Webb, I think that was the track he was on for a couple of years. Lowe on the switch, trying to hang with Ndongo, picks up the foul. But yeah, Terry has switched gears, getting away from PT, I think.
And Doug, it's cool to hear what guys are interested in outside of basketball, right? Obviously the focus is basketball, but they're more than basketball. They have interests outside of basketball. So it's just good to hear, what guys have going on besides that. And Lance Terry was just awesome to be able to talk to at shoot-around.
Ndongo wills his way to the basket, could not convert. Good defense inside by Guillermo Diaz-Graham, who receives congratulatory handshake from his twin brother Jorge. Number 31 has come into the game. Jorge's more of a 3-4 at 6'11", where Guillermo, now with the ball, is more of a 4-5, if you know what I mean. They both can shoot it. Jaland Lowe, a little strong off the back iron.
And what they're doing a good job of is when Georgia Tech's getting to the rim, they're just contested and making it tough for them. Yes, they'll make some of those shots. Yes, you'll get some foul calls, but just make it tough for them when they go to the rim.
Powell buries the triple. His second made 3 after going 0 from distance against Boston College on Saturday.
I'm a big fan of Duncan Powell because a lot of players, after having a game like that versus BC, would come out here and be shy. Not Duncan Powell coming out here ready to shoot the ball.
Guillermo Diaz-Graham, the first of the twins to get on the board. Back to a 7-point game, 9 minutes remaining in the half.
It's exactly what you have to do against the zone. Get the ball in the middle and turn and look, be aggressive just like Ndongo was. The middle and the short corner are the two areas of the zone that you need to attack.
And don't lose sight of Ndongo. He's only made 6 threes this year, but he has made 1 in each of the last 2 games. He can make that shot. He can also block shots. Pittsburgh will keep it along the baseline.
A lot of the time in the zone, it makes you settle, but Duncan Powell right here, just continue to be confident shooting the ball. Great job by Nate George getting into that middle. Ndongo, be patient, turn to see what you got, knock down the free throw line jump shot.
Ndongo is 3rd in the ACC at 54% shooting from the floor. And as Eric mentioned earlier, over the last 6 games, he's had 5 double-doubles, getting himself into that conversation perhaps for all ACC honors. 4 to shoot. Lowe puts it on the deck, lays it up and in. He's going left hand if he can every single time.
I really love Lowe. I just think he's a super crafty guard. He's not super quick, but he's crafty. He has ways of getting around you. He has good footwork. He can finish around the rim. He has to look to be aggressive throughout the rest of this game.
Nathan George, the ACC front runner in the race for the assist title. Mustaf cut off by Austin. Again, the shot clock down for the Yellow Jackets. George probing, back to Powell, thought about it, now puts it up. Ryan Mutombo just into the game, picks up his first personal foul. Rebounding has not been a strength for Pitt. Defense has not been a strength for Pitt. Damian Dunn had right thumb surgery in late November, missed 7 games, then came back and was just starting to get himself going a couple of weeks ago when he broke his elbow at North Carolina. So certainly that has cost the Panthers. Leggett, consistent as ever now with 8 points.
And that's what Pittsburgh needs to be able to do in the half court. Give Lowe the ball, penetrate the middle, get into the paint, collapse the defense, kick out to your open shooters and one of your best players in Ishmael Leggett.
Darion Sutton has come into the game for the first time for Georgia Tech, so we have seen all available and healthy 8 scholarship players who made the trip from Atlanta. With 1 on the shot clock, off the window for 2.
Duncan Powell, he can do more than shoot the ball. You see him working in the mid-post area. He's strong, he's aggressive to the rim. And oh, how about Lowe? These last 3 possessions, just getting into the lane, doing it in transition. This guy is a highly talented guard.
He says, I can finish with the right hand, and I can do it with style. Very nice. Jaland Lowe now with 6 points on 3 of 6 shooting, has the Panthers back to within 4.
Look, I think to your point about defensively with Pittsburgh and rebounding the basketball, those are things that a lot of teams are struggling with. You see offensively, Pittsburgh has the guys who can score the ball, but guarding the three-point line, being consistent, rebounding, and just getting stops on the defensive side.
Powell may have gotten a piece of that shot from Lowe. On the end line was Georgia Tech, and so Pittsburgh will keep possession underneath.
Just really love Duncan Powell, coming off not a good game against BC, but he stays aggressive. He showed you the jump shot, but now he's being aggressive in the post. A little contact finishing, and then Lowe is doing what he does best, a little dipsy-do, finishing with the right hand. I could go left, I could go right, I could kick it out to my shooters. Lowe's having a great first half.
I remember when Michael Jordan switched hands and Marv Albert famously said a spectacular move. It was in that vein, certainly nowhere near as good as Mike's, but pretty nice for Jaland Lowe. Pittsburgh with an empty trip, 6 minutes to go in the half. Tech led by as many as 12. Powell rattles home his 3rd made 3 of the night.
And when Duncan Powell plays well for Georgia Tech, they are a much, much better team. He gives guys confidence. He seems to be the vocal leader of this Georgia Tech team, and he's having an unbelievable first half shooting the ball and also going inside.
Leggett cut off by Terry. Feed the post. Guillermo Diaz-Graham trying to take advantage of the height advantage he had, but standing his ground and ultimately committing the foul was Jaden Mustaf, a 6'5" freshman from Bowie, Maryland, out of DeMatha Catholic High School in D.C.
How about the defense from Lance Terry?
Yeah, sticking his chest in there.
Against one of the best guards in the ACC in Ishmael Leggett, and just really taking upon himself to be a defensive stopper for this Georgia Tech team. And Coach Damon Stoudamire said in shoot-around, this is what we need you to do, son. We need you to be able to get stops on the defensive side of the ball.
Jorge Diaz-Graham, number 31, is the Pitt twin on the floor. Under 10 to shoot. Lowe. That was a pass to Corhen, had trouble handling it. Terry tracks it down in the corner.
It wasn't the best pass by Lowe, but if you're Corhen, you got to go up and grab that with 2 hands and come back down and finish strong.
4 turnovers now by Pitt. You see Terry and Powell have been dominating at the offensive end for Tech, both with 11, combining for 22 of the 30 Yellow Jacket points.
And Doug, it's really been Terry, Powell, and Ndongo and George that have been the most consistent, this season for Georgia Tech. Those are the guys who have really been getting the most playing time, and when they play well, Georgia Tech plays well as a team.
So now for Georgia Tech, you did what your head coach implored you to do today, come out and bring the physicality and throw the first punch, but that's not enough. You've got to sustain it because Pittsburgh has worked its way right back into this game to hang in there.
Yeah, it's a 40-minute game, and Pittsburgh is going to make their run as well. They're not going to lay down, when you get tough, but you got to continue to be physical on both sides of the ball, attack the glass, give yourself second chance opportunities, and when you can, get out and run, try to get some transition opportunities.
Shot clock ran out. It's a violation off the air ball from Lowe, and so Jeff Capel III welcomes Lowe back to the Pittsburgh bench. And we should give a shout out to Jeff Capel's mother, Jerry. She had spent the last few weeks here in Pittsburgh taking care of the grandkids as best she could. She stayed until one of her grandsons had a birthday just the other day, and so now she's back home in Carolina, and we presume watching on the ACC network. From one of the great basketball families in college basketball history, and certainly in the ACC.
and I'm sure that's something she wanted to do and she enjoyed doing, watching the grandkids. I know my mom, every time she gets a chance to come and see the girls, she's more than happy to take them. And I say, here you go, Mom.
And there is Jeff's brother, Jason, who is on staff, as he has been throughout. It's quite an assistant coaching staff Jeff Capel's put together. Jason was head coach at App State. Milan Brown on the right was head coach at Holy Cross and at Mount St. Mary's. And then Timmy O'Toole, always in motion, making noise. He was head coach at his alma mater for a number of years at Fairfield. It's a rarity that you have a staff with 3 assistant coaches who were also previously Division I head coaches.
And I got to shout out my guy, Timmy O'Toole. Coach O'Toole, he was coaching the Syracuse basketball camps when I was playing. And I mean, I don't know another guy who brings that type of energy to the floor. Timmy O'Toole is one of a kind.
Well, Pittsburgh's in a 3-minute score. 5 through 9 will get a first-round bye, and so that's why this game is so important. That along with Virginia Tech, Pittsburgh, and Georgia Tech, 7 and 9, tied for 8th. The difference at the moment is that Virginia Tech lost both of its head-to-head matchups against these 2 teams, so the Hokies are on the wrong side of that tiebreaker. You got to win this game if you're Tech or if you're Pitt, if it comes down to these 2 teams for a bye or no bye.
Doug, just win. We can go through all the statistics, all the situations, all that, win the game, and you don't have to worry about any of that.
Leggett now leads all scorers with his dozen. George pulls the trigger. Well short. And the rebound tracked down by Guillermo Diaz-Grand.
It's good communication right there by Pitt, just switching on that on George. And what I really like about Leggett is he's scoring the ball, but he's super efficient, right? He doesn't take 3, 4, 5 dribbles. He gets into the lane, 1, 2 dribbles. If he has an open jump shot, he's going to shoot it and knock it down. He's efficient. He keeps it simple.
And I know you noticed, Eric, again, that was Lance Terry who was challenged for his defense tonight, who came over from the help side to knock that ball out of bounds. Pittsburgh will keep.
Doug, I'm going to tell you one thing. Good offense always beats good defense.
I like the way you think. Yeah. It's the way you played the game at Syracuse.
Absolutely.
I mean, you scored what, over 1,600 points? You were much more
1680, but no one's counting. No one's counting though.
You were a little more engaged at the offensive end.
Oh, and we got to play the zone. and I had that 6'9", 6'9", 6'10" in the back. So if somebody got by me, I had some guys there to clean it up. But
yeah, sorry you're in foul trouble again, Mookie. Yeah. I just didn't feel like cutting off my guy.
Exactly. Hey, sorry, but give me the ball next time on the way down, all right?
Shot clock at 5. Lowe high off the window for 2, and the Panthers within 3.
Doug, another thing that Lowe does a really good job of is just playing at his pace. A good job of keeping the defender on his side, and just gives him that little 1-2 second to make a decision. Does he have the shot? Does he have the drop?
Zach Austin, before he landed, was shaking his head saying, "No, Nate George, I know you were trying to look me off, but I knew where you were going." Pittsburgh had a chance to tie it there. The rebounds have evened out considerably after Tech dominated the first several minutes. Powell to the corner, Terry wide open. He hits the clean 3 from the corner. It's back to a 6-point game.
A few games back, Terry would have been hesitant to shoot that 3. It looks like his wrist is all the way better, and he's not hesitant to shoot it at all, knocking it down.
Again, playing for the first time in weeks without a wrap on that right hand after he suffered a wrist injury that has been hampering him.
Lowe's doing a good job of getting into that lane. Now it's just about making a decision. If you have it, kick it out. If you don't, look for somebody else.
Powell fouled by Corhen. It's a couple of big guys meeting midair. And so Duncan Powell will shoot a pair.
A great swing right there by Powell, drawing 2, and then Terry, no hesitation at all, going right into his shot, knocking it down from the corner.
And he's already pretty much reached his season average of 14.6 points per game, sitting at 14. And so Powell will shoot 2. Number 3, Notre Dame highlights our final Thursday night women's basketball doubleheader of the regular season this week. Clemson and number 25 Louisville tip off the night at 6 Eastern. And then the Irish host number 24 Florida State in South Bend. It'll be a great night of hoops here on ACC Network. Glad you're with us here tonight. First of a men's doubleheader as Powell connects on the second. 35-27. Georgia Tech has been out in front from the start.
Doug, I don't think people know how hard it is, because Terry was playing at a high level. He was leading Georgia Tech in scoring the whole season, and then he gets hurt, and then try to come back in and find that rhythm, find your shape. It takes a lot, so it's good for him just to see him getting back into that form that he was earlier in the year.
Austin, he's been quiet tonight. Ndongo trying to save it, and he does.
Austin was my X factor for Pittsburgh. He's a guy who can shoot the ball, block shots defensively. He's active, but he needs guys like Lowe and Leggett to be able to get in there and make plays for him. But he has to be able to knock down those open shots.
Terry dumps it off. Beautiful move, but the layup is missed by Ndongo.
Got to be able to finish, but great job by Georgia Tech getting in, kicking it, getting back in, kicking it again, moving the defense side to side. It's a tough miss by Ndongo right there. You know, doesn't take a whole lot for him to get to his spot, and when he gets to his spot, he's able to make a good play.
Leggett puts it on the deck. Mustaf staying right there with him, and he's going to be called for the foul. Little hip check. Well, the official says it was more the knee or the thigh that got him. Either way, the freshman picks up the personal foul, his second. And that was just the 15th foul against Georgia Tech. And so both these teams not in the bonus. But if you're Tech, I don't know if you want to give up another foul to give because you've got such a short roster again tonight.
You want to continue to play physical, but play smart. Move your feet.
Lowe to Austin with 3 on the clock. Aims, shoots, and fires. Pittsburgh with a tremendous final possession of the half, and they'll head to the locker room down by 5.
A big basket right there for Zach Austin. Pitt needed him to be able to get involved.
Lowe 5th in the league at 5.2, and their numbers not spectacular, but steady. Each has only 1 turnover as we start the second half. George has 4 assists. Lowe has 5 assists to go along with his 8 points. Yellow Jackets with the basketball to start this second. Nathan George off the bounce has it rattled out off the glass and right back through the cylinder. 37-30 Georgia Tech.
And just a little thing that gives Georgia Tech an advantage offensively is now you can put Nate George off the ball a little bit, put Terry on the ball. Now George can look to be more of an effective scorer.
Cameron Corhen in a crowd for 2. 6 points for the junior out of Allen, Texas.
And I thought early on in the first half, especially with Suare out of the game, that they try to put Corhen in and go to him a little bit more often, look to get Ndongo in foul trouble. Maybe this is the half that they do it.
Terry gives to Ndongo, who gives it back to number 0. Ndongo off the spin, can't get the roll. 1 and done for the Yellow Jackets. Here comes Jaland Lowe. Well, that is a great sign to see Ibrahim Suare starting the second half for Georgia Tech. He gets the rebound. He suffered a left knee injury about 5.5 minutes into the game. We didn't see him again. And the official word at the intermission was that Suare was questionable to come back, but he came out and got on the stationary bike, went through his paces, and there he is again banging for a rebound in the middle of the action for Georgia Tech.
I mean, it's just tough for Georgia Tech. I don't know any other team in the country that has to deal with all these injuries throughout the year. And Suare is a guy who took somebody's spot because they were injured, and now he comes in and, you know, gets injured, but it's just good to see him back out there competing.
Well, Suare has started now the last 11 games, averaging about 23 minutes a game against ACC competition. But they are still without Javian McCollum, who didn't make the trip. He's got another concussion and has missed the last 4 games. George off the mark from the short corner. So again, down Kawasi Reeves, down Dorian Onwuchekwa, and down Luke O'Brien with a variety of injuries and other issues. And so if you're Georgia Tech, you have 8 healthy scholarship bodies, and it doesn't leave you a lot of wiggle room. Off the air ball, Leggett comes down with it, and he'll dribble up himself. Leggett gets downhill. George pokes it away, and he got the worst of that exchange. George comes away holding his face.
Doug, just think if they had all those guys healthy, what type of team they would be. I mean, coming into the season, they thought they were going to be competing for a top 5, top 6 spot, and they're still right there. You see Leggett right here just being aggressive, getting to the rim. Good hands right there by Nate George. And sometimes in the game of basketball, your face gets in the way.
Corhen hands back to Lowe. And I said in the first half, Zach Austin was the only guy in the country with 35+ block shots and made threes. It's 45. I shorted him 10 blocks and 10 threes. I apologize to Zach Austin.
And really, he's been getting opportunities. Lowe's been doing a great job getting in there, penetrating, and getting guys open. He just has to be able to knock those down. Best 3-point shooter on the team, most made threes.
Georgia Tech scoreless the last 2.5 minutes, 0 for their last 4, and they commit the turnover that has Austin out on the run and fouled at the rim by Jaden Mustaf. Zach Austin is said by Jeff Capel to be the best athlete he has coached in his 7 years here at Pittsburgh. He gave us a little glimpse right there.
You see him right here. He excels defensively, but he also excels in transition, getting out. And I don't care if you make that. I love the attempt right there, going up strong and making Mustaf just meet him at the rim. But an opportunity for Zach Austin to knock down 2 free throws. If you're going to attack the rim, Doug, attack it aggressively and with authority, and that's exactly what Zach Austin did.
Well, he's every bit of 6'7". They list him at 210. He spent 3 years at High Point University and then transferred up. And some of the boxes that he checks makes you think he has a shot to play at the next level.
Well, he has a role for sure. I mean, at his size, he's 3-and-D. He can really shoot the ball. I mean, he's an athletic. He's out this world, as he just shown you. But there's roles in the NBA for guys like that.
Mustaf turns it over. Lowe looks for some help. He found his trailing teammate Leggett, but he couldn't handle it, and so that is turnover number 6 committed by Coach Capel's Panthers.
Great job by getting the loose ball by Lowe, getting out in transition. I would just go up if I'm Lowe. Just go up and finish it. You're right at the rim. No need to pass it behind you. And you're in transition. Never pass the ball back behind you when you have, especially when you have an opportunity to lay it up at the rim.
George with that cross-court pass to the corner. Here's Mustaf, got the defender Austin off his feet. And now George will reload. He glances at the shot clock. Powell down the lane, puts it off the window and in.
What opened that up was Powell's jump shot, right? He's been shooting the ball well in the first half, hit 3 threes, and you have to close out on it, which opens up the straight line drive to the basket.
Leggett rejects the screen the first time, uses it the second, now goes inside to Corhen. What do they say about the guys who set the best screens? They're the guys who get open.
And a great job setting the solid screen and then getting out as soon as he set the screen. You have to help off of that. Point guard coming off. Great job catching the ball, finishing at the rim by Corhen.
Yeah, off the rescreen, he went right to the rim, and his teammate found it. Pittsburgh down 4 with the basketball. Leggett creates space. Can't get the roll. Corhen tried to knock the rebound away from Powell, but it goes to the Yellow Jackets who walk it up.
And I know both of these guards are exceptional guards for Pitt, but I just look at the matchup with Powell guarding Corhen, and I just think get the ball inside a little bit, see what happens. Does a double team come? Now when you kick it out, now you can play off of those closeouts.
Powell. He's feeling it tonight. It's amazing, the sport of basketball. One night you can't throw it in the ocean, and the next night you can't miss.
And now you got to get back and play defense if you're Georgia Tech. But on this side of the basketball, Georgia Tech has that advantage with Corhen guarding Powell.
Duncan Powell now.
Yeah, so did Pittsburgh. We'd love to have a little back and forth, but I mean, that's what made the game so fun. You know, competitive, passionate, both teams going at each other. Loved it.
42-37. You see Pitt's record at home this year, very good at the Pete. They have, since they built this building, well, it's almost a quarter century ago now, they have, other than a little bit here and a little bit there, they have been really tough to beat at home. And that is still the case here this season. Terry has it stripped away by Leggett. Ball comes to Mustaf, finds Powell from the corner. He's fouled and will have a chance at a 4-point play.
I'll tell you what, Doug, he does not remember what happened against Boston College last game. He's coming out here shooting the ball, extreme confidence, and a guy who really took advantage of the injuries that Georgia Tech have. You see him right here, just a kick out in the corner, knocking it down. Doesn't matter if you have a hand in his face. He's going to shoot the ball with a little bit of space and knocking it down. Opportunity for a 4-point play.
Well, his career high was 23 against Virginia Tech last month. He is 2 shy of that right now. Now 1 shy of matching his career high. And that includes his time at North Carolina A&T and last year at Sacramento State. Powell having an all-time performance tonight.
Well, it just goes to show you what type of player he is. You know, you have a bad game, you could come out and you could continue to play bad, or you could come out and shoot the ball and play with confidence. And he's playing with extreme confidence and having a heck of a game for Georgia Tech.
Powell picks up the foul, his first. And again, Georgia Tech has only 8 healthy scholarship players in uniform here in Pittsburgh tonight. Austin, he was shot ready, front rimmed it though, and the miss is grabbed by Lance Terry. Quickly Mustaf has it taken away for the moment, but recovered by Ndongo, and he says let's settle it down.
Great hands by Lowe right there. Mustaf's the guy who's really intriguing to me. He's a strong, big body. He can get downhill. He's really good in transition. Like I said earlier, if he gets that jump shot going and gets consistent right there, he's going to be a heck of a player.
George has it nearly stolen by Lowe. 2 on the shot clock. Terry puts it up. Didn't catch the iron. The shot clock was reset, but it is a shot clock violation. The officials were on it, and it'll turn back over to the Panthers.
That was a good defensive possession right there by Pitt. Defensively, you have to know your opponent, obviously, but it comes down to activity, energy, and effort, and guys just scrambling. There's going to be times where you get lost, but you have to communicate, and then you just have to play with a lot of effort on that side of the ball.
Tech has controlled second chance points tonight. It was 11-2 Yellow Jackets in that category at halftime.
Doug, that's a big stat right there, because usually the team who has more possessions in a basketball game wins.
Big 3 by Leggett.
Unless you're knocking down threes like that. I really like this. This is my first time seeing this guy play in person, and like I said, all 3 levels, 3 mid-range to the basket, and just more importantly, he just keeps it simple. He doesn't try to do too much.
Yeah, the ACC 6th man of the year last season, now a starter this year, and playing at an all-ACC level. Boy, Lowe has had some quick hands defensively tonight. Off the takeaway. Can't make him pay at the other end. Out of bounds, and we've got a foul call that goes against Leggett. And that's his 3rd, Eric.
Well, Lowe's been doing a great job of just being active defensively, having active hands, getting in there on Ndongo and pushing it. And really, he probably just could have went all the way. Good job by Terry, but it's not a bad shot right there, but he probably could have got a better one.
So Leggett with those 3 fouls will take a seat. Out of the powerful WCAC, Washington Catholic Athletic League from St. John's College High School. He'll sit out for at least a couple of minutes. George off the crossover, pulls the trigger. And into the game, who has played a fairly limited role so far tonight, Brandon Cummings, the freshman from Midland, Pennsylvania, with the ball. Good ball movement to find Corhen, who is still perfect from the floor.
Well, I've been saying it all game. Get him the ball. He hasn't missed a shot. He's going to be efficient around the rim. He can pass the ball out of the post, and he's going to make the defense collapse. Now it makes it easier for your guards to play off those long closeouts.
Hard to do better than 6 for 6 shooting the basketball.
Georgia Tech, they can't get into ISO basketball. They can't let it stick. They got to do a good job of cutting, and they got to move the ball side to side.
Terry inside against the 7-footer, able to initiate the contact and draw the foul. Who had lunch sitting outside today?
Oh, absolutely, with the sun shining in my face.
I'm crazy, but not that crazy.
Oh, man.
But it was a nice day to be out walking around here in Pittsburgh.
Absolutely.
Lance Terry at the free throw line makes a pair. He's now got 16 points. He has now surpassed his season average of 14.6. Guillermo Diaz-Graham, Brandon Cummings with the ball. Corhen battling with Ndongo inside for space. Ndongo's had a quiet second half.
Well, it's a great job right there defensively, not letting Corhen get position and seal him. But
who'd they get for that one? That's going to go against Ndongo, the sophomore from Senegal. By the way, he's got an old friend for the opposition tonight as we take another look. There's that left hand getting Lowe up in the chest, and that's why he got the foul call. And so Lowe is at the line, and you know, I'm never surprised with the connections that you find when you do this job. Through the sport of basketball, as you know, Eric, seems like everybody knows everybody, and they come from all corners of the earth. So this is with the old Albany City Rocks AAU team. Baye Ndongo and Papa Amadou Kanti, who we have not seen tonight, were teammates at least for one day. I don't know how long that lasted, but they greeted each other before the game today. And again, two guys from Senegal meeting in Western Pennsylvania to play a basketball game.
We got to shout out Jimmy Hart, the Albany City Rocks founder. And you know what, basketball, everyone plays basketball around the world, but the basketball community is really small. If you don't know someone personally, you know of them. So it's just awesome to see the relationships that guys build just through the game of basketball.
And right on cue, the 6'9" sophomore who played at Putnam Science Academy. There they are pregame. Papa on the right. I can't assume they were speaking English there. I was going to say we could eavesdrop, but my African dialect is not so good, so I don't know what they were saying. The two men from Senegal, and again, Papa has not had a consistent role for Pittsburgh this year, but he brings a physicality to this team. That's a new career high for Duncan Powell, and he has a chance, as Coach Capel certainly understands, for his second 4-point play of the half from that very same spot.
Well, I tell you what, he's bringing the physicality, he's bringing the jump shooting, he's bringing the straight line drives. Duncan Powell's confidence is at an all-time high right now, and again, just showing you what type of player he is after coming off that BC game, not shooting the ball well, coming into this Pittsburgh game with a lot of confidence, shooting the ball and knocking down the free throw. Like you said, Doug, having a new career high. Duncan Powell is on a roll right now.
Well, he went to high school in Dallas, but he's a Carolina kid at heart. He spent his formative years in North Carolina as a Tar Heels fan. He's having himself a career night, 26 points and counting. And he has been hunting his shots, especially here in the second half.
On a lot of the possessions, he's had the mismatch or he's had the open opportunity. So whenever you get those chances, you want to be aggressive.
Foul on Ndongo. And that is his second. And the fifth against Georgia Tech. Damon Stoudamire in his second year as head coach at Georgia Tech. His second opportunity as a head coach at the Division I level. He had a good run at the University of the Pacific out in California. Of course, he had a long NBA career. The NBA Rookie of the Year with the Toronto Raptors after being a first-round pick out of the University of Arizona. Mighty Mouse.
Mighty Mouse, and he was a guy who I looked to when I was growing up playing basketball. I mean, a guy at that height, the way he could score the basketball on all three levels, shooting it, getting into the lane, finishing at the rim, creating for others, and now coming into the coaching ranks and really one of the best guys to talk to. I've got to do a few Georgia Tech games this season, and again, the basketball community, people know each other, and it's just great to have conversations with a legend like that. And just pick his brain about the game of basketball.
Well, his favorite player as a kid was Nate Tiny Archibald, and you understand why. As a height-challenged scoring point guard. Ball out of bounds to Georgia Tech. Stoudamire now 51 years old. He's a West Coast guy from Portland. Played many years for the Trailblazers, but you saw on his bio there, he did spend time in the NBA as a coach with the Boston Celtics in recent years, right before taking the Tech job a couple of years ago. And you see concepts of what the Celtics do with this Georgia Tech team.
Well, even from their offense to their defense, but also in the shoot around. It's not laid back, but it's more easy going, and especially with the injury that Georgia Tech have. It's a lot of teaching, and obviously he's a guy who has that knowledge to be able to teach.
Mustaf picks up another foul. You can see he's not so happy about that. So that is his 4th personal foul, and again for a short bench. That is not what Damon Stoudamire wants to have to deal with. Far more coaches than available players on that bench. But it's nothing new. He's been dealing with it for weeks and months now.
Yeah, and again, I think Mustaf, he's a guy who he's young, and if he gets that jump shot, his game is going to excel even more going to the basket and getting out in transition, because guys have to come up and really guard him. But he's a really good young talent for Georgia Tech.
And of course, he is the son of the late Jared Mustaf, who starred in the ACC for Gary Williams at Maryland back in the day. Played a couple of great years in College Park before becoming the 19th, or rather 17th overall pick of the Knicks in the 1990 NBA draft. By the way, Derek Coleman went #1 that year. Figured I'd throw that in there for you, Aaron.
You have to. That's my guy, DC.
And Jaden's father unfortunately died in late October on his 55th birthday of natural causes. And yet his son continues to play on and honor that legacy. Nathan George all the way to the basket for 2 more. See, 8 points, 5 assists, 4 rebounds for George. His opposite number, Jaland Lowe, on double-double watch with 11 points and 7 assists. Leggett to the left-hand no. Corhen had it, able to save it. Cummings off the bounce. Looked like somebody got a piece of it. On second effort, Cummings no. Now Powell took a shot to the face. He holds his face and nose and goes back to tell Coach Stoudamire, I'm okay, I'll stay, but there might be some blood on that face of Duncan Powell.
You just love the activity and the physicality of both teams. They're really going after it on the boards.
Now Powell's going to head back over to the bench and probably receive a little bit of treatment.
You see right here Nathan George getting off the screen. Pitt doesn't rotate bottom side, and he just has a wide open layup, and Nate George is one of the best in the country making decisions off the pick and roll. He really excels at scoring the basketball off and then getting his guys involved as well.
That foul was on Jaland Lowe, his 2nd. There you see the blood on the towel for Duncan Powell in the midst of a career game, scoring the basketball. By the way, as Ndongo waits to shoot his free throws, this is the first time tonight that we have had bonus free throws. Neither team got into the bonus in the first half, so this will be our first 1-and-1. If the Georgia Tech training staff's able to get that bleeding stop, Powell can stay in the game. Looks like he's going to be able to, at least for now.
They're not going to let him come out of the game. No. The way he's playing, and he's a guy that ever since stepping in and being in the starting lineup has really took advantage of that role and just really excelled and gotten better and better each game.
Only a 61% foul shooter, and Ndongo is emblematic of a team that doesn't shoot the free throws very well. 329th in the country out of 364 teams. They shoot a dreadful 67%. Worst in the ACC, and only Cincinnati and Minnesota are power conference programs that shoot it worse from the line. Of course, Ndongo makes them both. And the lead is 9.
But it looks good. He has a good looking form. It's nothing really that you want to change. It's just being consistent and getting the reps. But he has an NBA skill set, especially the way he's been playing of late. Early in the season, you heard, whispers of him, not playing up to what he's capable of. But as of late, I mean, you saw the stats, 19 and 15 boards. He's rising up those NBA mock boards.
There's another rebound for Ndongo. He's in double figures on the glass. Last year as a freshman, he made the all-rookie team in the ACC, the first Yellow Jacket to do that since Josh Okogie back in 2017, who's having himself a nice NBA career. Cummings off the steal, gives it right back. Good hustle by Tech to get back defensively to force what is the 7th Pittsburgh turnover tonight.
Especially off a turnover from Powell. They could have just stood there and waited until they get back and then cause the turnover on the other end. Great job by Georgia Tech continuing to play.
Saw the Yellow Jackets have 10 turnovers to the 7 for Pitt. Just over 8 minutes to go here in the second half at the Peterson Event Center.
Get the ball into the middle of the zone. Somebody has to flash right there.
Darion Sutton, number 10 in gray, back into the ball game. Better close out that time, under control by Leggett to keep Powell from making the 3. And the foul committed by Sutton in transition will take us to our next break. A lot of emotion on the floor in this key game, Liz, rightfully so, with still 2+ years of eligibility remaining.
And really, his size at the position is bigger than all those guys that you named. I mean, he's one of the bigger point guards and allows him to see over the defense, and he already has really great vision, but just being at that 6'5", 6'6" height allows them to see it a little bit even more.
Well, of course, Canada has been, as Lowe makes a couple of free throws for Pitt, quite a booming place for NBA players to come from. Of course, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is the biggest name right now, might win MVP. I don't know as Nathan George will get that far, but Jamal Murray, R.J. Barrett, Andrew Wiggins, on and on. He's just another one of the latest great exports in hoops from up north. Ndongo lost it out of bounds off his leg, says the official right there. Lee Cassell had a great view. Ndongo didn't believe it, but he's going to lose that argument every single time, and that's the 11th Tech turnover.
Well, you see Pitt going back to the zone, and Georgia Tech got into a spot where they can be effective in that short corner. You just have to be decisive when you get there. You wait too long, that's when the double team comes.
Lowe defended by Powell, tries to get around him, and Powell commits the foul. And so Jaland Lowe, who is putting together a pretty good stat line tonight, will head back to the free throw line. You see the 13 points, 7 assists. The one thing about both him and Nate George in this terrific point guard matchup is that they are also, on the flip side, 1 and 2 in the ACC in turnovers committed. How much of that is just that they are both high usage, high volume guys and you're going to have turnovers? And how much of it has been carelessness?
Well, I think it's a little bit of both, right? I mean, both guys probably have some turnovers they want to have back, but when you have the ball in your hands that much during the game, you're going to commit some turnovers. But now it's just about being able to learn from those turnovers and, you know, make better decisions each time, each game.
Darion Sutton with the basketball, gives it back to George. Georgia Tech up by 5 with the ball.
Doug, me and you know both. They got to get that ball in the high post. The high post is short corner. If not, you're going to have to screen the inside or outside of that top of the zone.
Well, Sutton got a paint touch. George made the extra pass, and they got a really good look from Terry. Just couldn't make it. And so Pittsburgh can make it a 1-possession game. Step back 3. Lowe's got it. He puts his hands, as you saw, in the sign of a prayer. His prayer is answered in the paint. 18 that night. He gave you 32.
Did he?
That's what the guys are telling me.
Oh, he gave his own 32.
Oh, there we go.
Way to deflect, E. No, I mean, he was a heck of a player, man. All Big East type player.
No doubt. Pittsburgh on a run. Georgia Tech trying to reestablish. A couple of point-blank shots. Pittsburgh's going to be called for the foul, and the Yellow Jackets, who've been very good tonight at the foul line, will head back to the stripe. As a team, they are 10 of 11. This for a team that, again, is shooting at a 67% clip.
Well, Doug, if you're Georgia Tech, you can get the ball in that middle. I don't care who it is, and you're attacking the rim. Now you cause the defense to collapse on you, and that allows offensive rebounds to open up, and that's what happened right there for Ndongo. Great job being aggressive on the boards. An opportunity to knock it down. And like we said earlier, not a great free throw shooter, but the form is there. It's just about the reps and being consistent and being confident in shooting the ball.
That foul was on Leggett, his 4th. a shooter's role for Ndongo, and so Leggett's going to go out. How long do you keep Leggett out with those 4 fouls if you're Pittsburgh?
Well, you don't want to keep him out too long. As long as you can keep it close and keep it within range, but you probably put him on the bench for 2 minutes and try to get him back in there.
(57-54) Georgia Tech. The Yellow Jackets looking for their 8th conference win on the year. They and the Panthers both 7-9 in ACC play, tied for 8th place along with Virginia Tech. Lowe's fouled by Terry. It's a blocking foul on number 0. His second. He joined the 1,000-point club earlier this season, back in December at Oklahoma. And as we were talking to him after shoot-around today, again, some of his younger teammates called the now 24-year-old Pops. And what was the other one?
Pops,
Old Head.
Old Head. Yeah. Pops and Old Head. Yeah. I guess in this era where guys can get, 5 and 6 years and sometimes even 7. I mean, back then when I was playing, 24 would have been old.
Oh yeah.
I was 21 on my way out. So
well, who we kidding? It's still old for being in college, but that's the world we live in.
That's the world we live in. So, but I think he likes it. I think he looks at
Absolutely.
it as, he's a leader, and when guys come to him saying Old Head and Pops, he probably just gets a chuckle. But he's having a heck of a game today, or tonight, excuse me.
Just had a pause with a scoring discrepancy. This is the correct score now at 58-55. And make it 58-56.
And Doug, just about Lowe, he doesn't look really big or strong, but he does an incredible job of getting into the defender's body and drawing the fouls.
Yeah, Georgia Tech was at 57 on the scoreboard. Should have been 58, so they've got that corrected. And then the Yellow Jackets cough it up again. Turnovers have been a problem for Tech here in the second half as the Panthers have clawed back in it. And the Zoo starts to make some noise.
So 12 turnovers. They've been doing a good job with second chance points, but
Cummings gives Pittsburgh its first lead since 2-0. And Carl Krauser loves it.
And I think the games that Lowe missed gave Cummings even more confidence coming in, starting at the point. And he's a guy who's really talented, can do it on all 3 levels. There you see him showing his ability to shoot the basketball.
And Coach Stoudamire was telling us that this team still has not gotten its leadership from the floor. It still comes from him. This is the perfect opportunity for somebody on this team to grab his teammates and say, let's go. But will that change the DNA of a team and of these players? Can that change, Eric? Now in late February.
It's a great job right there by Lowe, penetrating, collapsing the defense, and finding Cummings, who knocks it down. But to your point, Doug, you can't have the leadership come from the coaches. They're not playing the basketball game. The guys on the floor are playing the basketball game. You'd think guys like Powell, who's more vocal, but I'm thinking Nate George. He's the leader of the team. You're the best player on the team. And you need to be able to step up, huddle your guys up, especially in situations like this where you're turning the ball over too much, and calm them down and get back into your offensive sets, execute, and get ready on the defensive side of the ball.
But he's Canadian. He's a lot nicer than we are. He's not going to do that. Come on, man. That foul was on Zach Austin, his second, and Ndongo, again, who is 61% from the line coming in, gets 1 out of 2. So we are tied 59 apiece with just over 5 minutes on the clock.
But, Doug, usually you'd want it to come from your point guard. We're talking about Carl Krauser. Excuse me. He was the guy who you didn't have to tell him to talk at all. He was automatically talking out on the floor. But one of the great leaders that Pittsburgh have had come through their basketball program.
No doubt. Big stop for Tech defensively. Terry comes for the ball, takes it from George to Mustaf. 12 on the shot clock, and there's a foul given up by Cummings out between the circles, some 35 feet from the basket. First foul on number 3, the freshman from Lincoln Park High School in Western PA.
And Doug, Cummings is going to be a really good player for this Pittsburgh team, but this is where you're missing Leggett in the game, offensively, and then defensively, he's usually guarding the best player on the other team.
Leggett out with the 4 fouls. We will see him come back in at some point, maybe trying to get to the under 4 media timeout before bringing him out. And there is the freshman whose older brother Nelly played a year, a graduate year here at Pitt after a terrific run at Colgate University. Looks like maybe we've got some blood on George. Hey, and there's Big Brother, the former Panther, rooting for his younger brother, who goes by Biba in the family. Renell and Brandy, dad and mom, and Nelly are regular figures at home games here this year for supporting their youngest, and there is dad. And you're right. I mean, the upside for Brandon Cummings is very high. How about that?
That's an awesome photo right there. How cool is it, Doug, to be able to have your family that close enough to where they can come and watch you play all your college basketball games? Not only your mom and dad, but your brother and other family members.
And Nelly was on the call early season when kid brother went for 30 against Eastern Kentucky. That was that last shot there.
Well, that's what it was. His brother was on the call.
Yeah. After rejecting the screen, Lowe to the right hand, can't get the roll. Everything but the layup, and here comes Georgia Tech on top by 2. George hoists. He was fouled on the 3 by Corhen, and Coach Capel is incensed. And from his pointing and body language, I don't think it's just that call that he's worked up about. He didn't like something at the other end that just was or was not called.
Well, I tell you what, whenever there's a 3-point foul shooter, yeah, I mean, right there, you just got to finish that. It was a great drive. You rejected the screen, getting downhill. You got to finish that. And on the other end, that's a foul every time. You can't come under the shooter.
Right, you've got to give him room to land. So even if there was no or insequential contact up top or with the body, he didn't allow for the shooter to land.
You have to be able to control your closeout on the shooter. Anytime you get that close to a shooter, it's an automatic foul.
And so Leggett is back onto the floor with those 4 fouls as George makes 2 out of 3 from the strike. Well, it's been 5.5 minutes since Georgia Tech's last field goal, and yet they've been able to maintain and get the lead back to 4. They trailed for just a brief second, but for the most part, they have led almost the entire game. Lowe on the switch, drives by Ndongo, who recovers for the rejection. And a foul on the floor. Coach Capel is all the way out in the lane.
Here in the back and forth from the coaches all game long, and they're doing their best job. They're not going to be perfect. They're not going to catch every call, but for the most part, they're doing an unbelievable job.
Well, we will get you to Blacksburg just as soon as we are done here in Pittsburgh with the 19th ranked Louisville Cardinals and the Hokies set to tip off. The other ACC game tonight over on ESPN has gone final. No surprise, Duke hammered Miami 97-60.
And Doug, really a big difference in this game, and you mentioned it earlier, is the free throws for Georgia Tech. 19 for 22 from the free throw line, and being 61% overall in the season. Both teams really haven't been shooting the ball well this half, but Georgia Tech has been getting to the line and knocking them down.
So now Leggett draws the foul, and he'll head to the line to shoot 2. Yeah, the oddity, when you look back at the 2 best wins for Georgia Tech this year, Eric, they came earlier this month against Louisville and at Clemson, despite the fact that Coach Stoudamire's team was a combined 21 of 42 from the free throw line. How do you win games when you are a 50-50 proposition at the line? So they win those games against the second and third best teams in the league, and yet they've not been able to consistently put together wins this year.
Well, during that time, Nate George was averaging almost 25 points per game over that span, and defensively, he talked about it in shoot-around. They were physical. They were beating teams up. They were bringing energy and effort, and it started with Stanford, and where they only gave up 52 points. So defensively really is where you know, they have been controlling these games, and then you've had Nate George and Ndongo, and then tonight you're having Powell, who's having an unbelievable game, but it starts on the defensive end of the floor.
Those 2 free throws by Leggett ended a 7-0 run for Tech, who you see has not scored a bucket in a long time. And they still haven't. The ACC's best shot blocker with another. Jack Austin gets up and times it perfectly.
Again, Georgia Tech doing a good job getting the ball in the middle of the zone. Great job by Mustafa. Great help side defense right there by Zach Austin. But again, another second chance opportunity for Georgia Tech. An opportunity at the foul line for Lance Terry.
Well, Austin came into the day tied with Victor Locken, the Cincinnati transfer who's played so well at Clemson, especially in ACC play, at 1.7 block shots per game. Terry with a swish.
Doug, you talked about at the next level. Usually you look at teams, you're like, oh, he's not the best player on the team, but the NBA is about having a role. He's a guy at that size. He can knock down the three-point shot. His versatility on defense is really what makes him appealing to those NBA teams. So if he continues to play his role and really excel at that, he's going to give himself a chance to make a lot of money.
Cummings, Lowe, and Leggett in the backcourt. Guillermo Diaz-Graham, and here is Austin, the other 2 Panthers on the floor. A 2-point pull-up, no. Ndongo with another rebound. Down goes Guillermo Diaz-Graham. And we're going to get an offensive foul, and we're going to review it and see if we're going to have a flagrant foul. Any forcible contact to the head or neck, and we're going to go to the video.
You saw at the end
that
that
on the floor is an offensive foul. The previous play will be under review.
I mean, he goes up and
shoulder caught him in the chops, I think.
Yeah. I mean,
we get this wrong all the time, but I think that's just going to be incidental.
Yeah.
And a basketball play, common foul. But what do you think?
I mean, you see him coming down, and they could say that the elbow came out and extended it right there.
But they just said common foul confirmed.
Yeah,
so they did it quickly, and
we could dissect those plays all day and try to figure it out. Well, it's a flagrant one or flagrant, but in the game of basketball, you're going to have those type of plays, and it wasn't anything malicious by Ndongo.
Both teams now in the double bonus. Ndongo's been very active on the glass for most of the night. He's got 16 rebounds, although he has committed 5 turnovers, 9 points. And so Leggett will trigger it in along the baseline. Mustafa called for the foul.
That's his 5th.
So he joins Cam Corhen as fouled out of the ball game.
Yeah, it looks like Darius Sutton's going to come in. Another young kid who has potential. He's versatile on the defensive side of the ball, and he's a better shooter than Mustafa. So Georgia Tech comes in and brings a guy who can shoot the basketball. But back to Ndongo, 16 rebounds, 9 points. When he's aggressive and when he's active and brings energy, good things just happen for this Georgia Tech team. From the beginning of the season to now, a totally different Ndongo.
And again, the Louisville-Virginia Tech game is underway now in Blacksburg at Castle Coliseum, and the Cardinals, ranked 19th in the country, are off to a 9-0 start. We'll get you there just as soon as we wrap things up here in Pittsburgh. Now it's 11-0 Louisville.
And now if you're Georgia Tech, you just have to be able to handle this Pittsburgh pressure and take care of the basketball, and it's probably going to come down to knocking down free throws. Pitt going to extend that zone a little bit further, so now that open, or the middle of the court is wide open.
Five to shoot. Terry fires it up under pressure, and it's an air ball. That Pittsburgh defense forces another Shot clock violation.
It's a great job by being active in the zone by Pittsburgh, but if you're Lance Terry, you can't get lost out on that wing. Once you see George come off that pick and roll, you have to be able to come behind and have an option for the quicker shot at the top of the key.
14 turnovers now by Virginia Tech, or rather Georgia Tech. We'll get you to Virginia Tech in just as soon as we can. Lowe, right to the rim. That time he calls his own number and finishes.
And honestly, he can get to the basket anytime he wants. It doesn't matter who's guarding him. With the lineup Georgia Tech has in right now, they're going to switch everything.
First Pittsburgh field goal in 7.5 minutes. And it draws the Panthers back to within 3. Actually, it was closer to 8 minutes since that last one. And so now Coach Stoudamire uses a timeout with 1:38 remaining in regulation.
See right here, just getting to his strong hand, and if you're Nate George, you got to know that he's trying to go to his left. You want to try to force him to his right, but easier said than done. Lowe getting to the hole when he wants, finishing with the strong hand.
Here's a good look at the 6'3", 175-pound sophomore out of Fort Bend Marshall High School. Top 10 in the ACC in scoring, assists, steals, and free throw percentage. The possession arrow belongs to Georgia Tech. Both teams with a couple of timeouts.
Well, there's a reason that Lowe's projected in the second round on a lot of NBA draft boards. He's a guy who's crafty. He can shoot the ball. He can create for himself and others. And as a sophomore, he's continuing to get better with his decision making.
13 on the shot clock, about 90 seconds left in regulation. Out of the timeout. Tech got the ball in the middle, and Ndongo's pass was knocked away, and it leads to a held ball. And there is that possession arrow coming into play in favor of the Panthers.
And Doug, look, great idea by Ndongo. It was the right pass. You just have to put it up in the air. The bounce pass, now you just allow those guards to get back in there, and that's usually what's going to happen. You have to put that up for Powell to go get it.
Lowe with the ball, he's got 22 points. Leggett's got 20. Left alone, can't do that. It's tied at 67 off the triple from Lowe.
And a guy in Sutton who hasn't played the whole game, and Lowe knows that, and he sees red, and he's going to attack that every single time.
1 minute left in the second half. Nate George fouled by Cummings, no basket. Well, Jaland Lowe makes 28% of his threes. He takes more threes than anybody on this Pittsburgh roster, so he doesn't shoot it particularly well, but he can shoot it.
But he's a basketball player, and he's confident, and he's not going to let missed shots, let him lose confidence and not shoot the ball. And right from the jump, he's continued to attack. He's got in the paint, made plays for his teammates, but now he says, it's me time. Put the ball in the hands and make it happen.
Georgia Tech continues to make its free throws. Nathan George is actually a very good foul shooter at 81%.
And Doug, coming back down on the other end from Georgia Tech, in that pick and roll situation, I'm trapping Lowe. I'm getting the ball out of his hands, denying the basketball, something. Make somebody else beat you.
Tech is now 23 for 26. Powell with his career high for Georgia Tech. He's got 26. And here is Lowe with the basketball, down by 2.
Switching everything, and Ndongo's capable of staying in front.
Trying to face guard him, now trying to recover. Lowe turns down the shot for a 3 from Austin. Lowe with the offensive rebound. Dangerous pass, Leggett gets it. Missed the layup. Couple of huge missed opportunities for Pitt, and here comes Tech. Terry with Lowe to beat, able to do it. What a sequence for the Yellow Jackets, who get their lead back to 4.
And Doug, how about that's gutsy right there by Terry. Not thinking he might just pull it out and make him foul him, but he decides to go all the way to the rim with the tough. So, yeah, you want to try to be able to get in the lane quickly. If you have an open opportunity at 3, you take it, but you want to try to get into the lane, make something happen, and that's not the way to do it right there with that pass.
Goodness, a dangerous pass. Leggett's got it, puts up the forced 3. dives for the ball, gets it back out to Lowe. His three is long. Austin had it blocked by Ndongo. Pittsburgh with another chance, but time is running out. And Georgia Tech grabs the rebound. Once again, it's Ndongo. And the Pitt Panthers, despite repeated opportunities, could not convert against this Tech defense.
Well, that sideline out of bounds was not what Coach Capel drew up right there. If anything, you're trying to get a zipper play where you can get Lowe coming off and going right into the screen so he can get downhill and look for a finish or a kick out for three. And that is not the play that Coach Capel wanted or drew up.
They were fortunate to keep possession of that basketball and get those 3 or 4 shots based on that dangerous pass you're talking about.
Well, Doug, how about Georgia Tech? I mean, you go on the road to Boston College, really have a stinker, right, against a team that's at the bottom of the league. You know you're capable of playing better, and then you come on the road against a tough Pitt team in a tough environment and get a win.
It's going to be a quad 1 win.
I mean, it's pretty incredible what Coach Stoudamire has done with this team and the injuries that they have. And we mentioned all the guys that have been injured in the beginning of the game. And for them to do it with a limited bench and limited guys, it just shows you the energy and effort and the passion that these guys are playing with.
Balanced attack for Georgia Tech to pick up this quad 1 victory and get the tiebreak.